Dit is hartstikke awesome Jeff.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. I am Alex Dingman.
I'm Jeff Doss. Let's do this, guys. Man, we got a fun show for you guys. And as we share every year, this is probably Alex and Jeff's favorite week of the year, as both of us are very big Diamond Nationals fans. So we are excited about this.
Yeah,
Alex, it's where he's from, so it's a little different for me. I'm a huge fan. This is probably 1A or 1A, 1B, my favorite tournament of the year, or the most important tournament of the year. So I'm excited about it, and we are ready for just an amazing time and week. I know there's a lot going on right now with hurricane, and there was even some issues around the area where the tournament is today. So hopefully, everybody is safe and gets here safely, is able to maybe reschedule their flight before or maybe later. But we are looking forward to seeing everybody this week. Before we get into that, we want to share our sponsorship. And we got to tell you about K-Talk Nationals, all right, in New York. They have so much going on, and it's going to be exciting to see. Hold on, I'm trying to find my guide here. Oh, here we go. All right, so a couple things to remember, of course. New York City, there's everything, all right? Statue of Liberty, Times Square, Central Park, all those exciting things. Go and visit on November 24th. Actually get there a little early, get there the 22nd, 23rd, and just spend a whole weekend enjoying New York City. All right. Insiders, if you are with us, comment, let us know what is your favorite thing about K-Talk. Also, so things this year, not only do they have open weight, but they have open rank. So open rank fighting for, everybody to spar against each other. They also have the money for the adult black belt overall grants, which is always increasing every year. There will be a staggered schedule. So that way, because the event is a huge one-day event, that way things are done at certain times. So that helps with the process of running the event. We also have, it's a USA Sport Karate event, which means, like Jeremy Roque will be there coordinating it. It's a WKC qualifier as well as a NASCA AAA event. So you're going to have the best there competing. Also sponsored by G-Force Weapons, Dojo Shirts, and Female Fighters Matter too. All those will be there in the building setting up. So K-Talk, it's the place to be. So make sure you guys go and check it out.
Really sounds like it's going to be a pretty happening event. It's kind of like the closeout event of the year, one of the closeout events of the year. Obviously, right. This weekend kind of like kicks off like, all right, are we done? What else do we got left? Let's get some momentum under our belt before the end of the year, before we kick back up with AKA to start 2025. Right. But yeah, I mean, right before Thanksgiving, because Thanksgiving's late this year, right? Isn't Thanksgiving late?
Yeah.
So the 24th, you would think like, oh, that's like could be right there, but it's the week before, so it's pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, you said it. You're in New York. You're right there. You got all the things around you to do, everything to distract you with as well. But it should be a great time. It should be, and exactly what you're talking about, it should be a great experience. And when you said like they're up in the money each time, that's kind of what the Diaz's do. They put their money where their mouth is. They do tend to do that and partner with people who also do.
Lee, yep, 5-0. Congrats
to the
Vikings.
Man. You
Yep,
know,
and Lee,
we
we will be
are,
at
I think,
Toronto as well. We'll be at Toronto as well.
Leandro, I think the Vikings are undefeated when they have to go play in England. I think that's the case. So while it sucks, because I think like we had to waste a home game. I think that. But all right. I mean, it's an automatic dub, is what it feels like. So sure, make it
Dude,
happen.
it's a great opportunity for the team too. So lots of growth. So pretty cool. All right, guys. If you are not on right now, share. Let everybody know what's going on. And we got some fun conversations happening today. Again, as we said, you know what? It's all about that Minnesota moments with as this is one of our favorite events, you know.
I mean, I got some juicy stuff.
So many things that have happened over the years at this event. You know, you had said your first one that you went to was what year?
The first one I competed in was 93.
Okay.
I went
93.
to but the first one I went to was in 92. I'd only
Okay.
been in martial arts for like a couple of months, right?
Okay.
And then my dad was like, we didn't really know what we were doing, right? We had no idea, right? And it was like, I heard that there's this karate tournament in town. Let's just go swing by Saturday afternoon. We're not really doing anything. Or Saturday morning, we walk in like, what? And then we just never left. All right. Hats off to Dad. All right. Because he had no idea what he was walking into either. Right. He could have been like, this is just too much, which it clearly is. If you think you're just swinging by, you know, like a gym to go see people do karate, and then you walk into that, you know, that's a lot. But especially, like, we didn't leave. Yeah, we didn't leave. We did not leave until the finals was over. Right. So we got there, I don't know, probably like 10 in the morning. And we just stayed all day, which is, that's what you do when you go to a tournament. But when you think you're going there just on the way to Applebee's, right? It's a little different.
Right. Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. My first year was 94. I should tell him. So my first year was 94. So this will be 30 years since my first time going to Diamonds. And, you know, like that was my first year competing as a black belt in NASCA. So this is my 30th year on the circuit, you know, as a national black belt competitor. And so if it's fitting for a lot of different things, you know, that have happened here for me, but also that I've been able to witness. You know, I have 30 years that I've, you know, not been in this tournament, but since my first time. Also, it'll be the 25th anniversary of when I created Intergalactic, you know, the So there's a lot of really cool moments like that. You know, the past 2 years being on stage and really putting the Korean division more on the map, you know, being able to in 2014 finally get on stage after, you know, from 94 till all that time. It took me forever to get on stage and literally being the very last competitor of the whole Diamond Nationals to compete. And I had one little bobble. And so I just remember that being an awesome experience. And the crowd was like super behind me. It was really cool. I didn't expect that, you know.
But again, you know, like I never know what the crowd's gonna do either. I mean, there's sometimes I know I can be like, all right, Will Cornell's going up there. All right.
Right.
He's not Minnesota, he's Wisconsin, but it's basically the same thing once you go there. Right. No, Minnesota and Wisconsin aren't the same. I know that. But in the sense of like how they're going to cheer for you, right? But like sometimes you just never know, like, wow, they gravitated towards this person. Or like they booed that person, you know?
Yeah. And so for me, you know, like going to Diamonds, I always had a lot of success there, especially like winning my division. I think the first 5 years that I went to that tournament, I won 4.
Crazy.
You know? And back then we only had 3 divisions. You know, you weren't allowed to do multiples.
So deep. And I think about when you went in 94, man, that was a freaking year. That was an awesome one. Yeah. You think about like that's when that's what Carmichael did the Crow. So Carmichael did the Crow. Kingston Ings,
runoffs,
perfect sidekicks.
Yep. Bernadette Ambrosia.
Bernadette
you
Ambrosia, Richard
you had
Brandon's
Jimmy
double
Pham.
ring.
Right. Yep. That all happened that year. Yeah. So like just the division that we had to get to the finals, right?
Sure.
The runoff, where we had 14 of us and they took 4, right?
Yeah.
And
That's
like that
nuts.
was the day, that was the first time that I saw Jennifer Santiago do a cheat 720. That was the first time a female
She
did a
really?
move like that, right? You also have, myself, you have Jimmy Pham, you have Meadow Mays, you have Bernadette Ambrosia, you have Casey, you have so many, Peter Alonde, all of us competing against each other to go after,
Yep.
just to get up on stage back then. And here's the deal: there was only one Forms grant. All
Yeah,
right, so
that's it.
like,
It was.
like
It
there was
wasn't even boys and girls. It was junior.
Yep. One junior Forms, one junior weapons, so it wasn't like, and I mean, some tournaments when they would do that, they would put all up there because, hey, you know what? But for that,
Yeah.
They the finals, I don't remember them being that long, but they
weren't.
probably still were. I think
Yeah,
most of the
but
fighting,
they probably still were because they had more fighting and
they
they
did the
had
whole
more.
top 4 in there.
Yes, and
Like,
they had intermissions. They
Yep.
had like they had like
and those-
announcements. They had like the Hall of Fame thing. They made a
Hall of
big deal.
Fame.
So it probably was still the same amount of time.
Right.
Yeah,
It's a little
but
different.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
just formatted a little different.
Yeah, I mean, so there's so many great things on that. I know for me, and one of the reasons why it was a big deal, finally getting to the stage, is because literally like 4 years in a row, I missed getting to stage by 1/100 for a point. So like 95, 96, well, not in a row, but 95, 96, 98, and 99. They started going to 3 people, and I was 4th each of those times. And it was
So-
like, dang.
So it's funny you said that, right?
Yeah.
So there's this kid who I used to train with. Like, this is funny. Like the kids you trained them, and then all of a sudden they just like get bigger than you, and you're like, I guess we're training partners. Try not to hurt me, right?
Right.
His name was Alex. His name was Alex Zahn. Okay.
Mhm.
And I don't know if you remember this kid, all right? But I mean, he was a bundle of intensity, and he was a very, very good bow competitor. Okay.
Okay.
So he was pretty young. I would say he was like probably 13. Okay. So wins his division and he's in runoffs. Same thing. He gets 4th, does not go to the finals. And this is at the Diamonds.
Right.
And then we just chalk it up like, damn, so close, sucked, couldn't make it. And that was just it.
Yeah. Right.
One of those backhanded like comments that you're like, it was a little too freaking late now, pal. Right. So Larry Carnahan, he actually trained at Larry Carnahan's school, right? You can't get any closer,
Okay.
right? So then we had all kind of expected that Alex would do well, and he did win his division. And so then we were just kind of like one of those things where Larry Carnahan walks by like in passing because he's never standing still, right? So and I was standing next to Alex, and he came and he goes, "Wait a minute, like you're not in your uniform anymore." He's like, "Wait, didn't you win your division?" He's like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Well, how did runoffs go?" And he goes, "I took 4th." He goes, "Are they already done?" And he goes, "Yeah, everything's already packed up." And he goes, "You should have told me. I'd have taken all 4."
Yeah. That's I've had that. That's happened before. I've
And
had
he's
that.
just standing there, and he's too young. He's just standing there with his jaw dropped.
Right.
And I was shocked, taken back. And then, of course, like he just keeps moving.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the heck did he just say? Alex, what? Oh, and it's way beyond. It's not even like, let's go catch them. It's over, right? Like, that would have been cool because it would have been great to have that as a moment. That firsthand. How many times?
4 or 5 times. And then that year before, I mean, I thought I won my division. I thought I won the Korean division, and I ended up getting second, and it's one of those things where it's like, dang, but, I think I have 9 or 10 first places at Diamonds, out of maybe 10 years or 12 years going. So, I mean,
that's quite the damn record.
It's pretty good, but I'm ready for what's coming for me this weekend. So
Get it. Let's get some jewelry.
It's gonna be
You know
it's gonna
what?
be
There's a lot of little things like that. But then on the fighting side, there's there have just been some like moments where you're like, oh, did you see what happened last night? Like one of those things,
yeah,
and it's always unexpected,
yeah.
right?
It is.
And
It
like when
is.
it happens, like what the heck just happened? Like, here's an example. Okay. When did this one happen? This happened in 2014, right? Now, the
Oh,
the end result of 2014 was not just one of the best fights of the year.
yeah,
It was one of the best fights ever, right?
yeah.
And it ended with Raymond Daniels and Jack Felton in overtime.
Yep.
And then boom, there's a clash. Boom, there's a clash. It was all in overtime. And it was like,
Yep.
oh my goodness. And you can argue Jack should have won it in regulation, right?
Yeah. Yep.
But when the overtime point, like that was Ray. Ray won it. It's over. Like nobody's gonna say like Raymond Daniels shouldn't have won. Like who's gonna say that? Nobody's gonna say that, right?
Right.
To get to that point, though, sometimes when you look at the end result, you think like that should dictate what the rest of the tournament was, and that's definitely not the case.
Right.
It's so crazy. So I fought in the light heavyweight division that year. So did Ray. Right. Spoiler alert, I didn't win. All right. So that year there was only 3 of us in that division. There was me, Ray, and Chance Turner.
Wow.
What? Like what?
Yeah.
But then like the years, all
was
the
a-
other years before, because I've been a light heavyweight since like ever, right? There's been like 20 plus people, and everything's past that. There's been the same thing. Like that one year, that
Yeah.
one division. Like, what? This doesn't make any sense. So I'm like, well, I'm certainly not getting the bye. And I'm kind of looking at it going, Chance probably gonna fight you. So let's get ready. And that's not how it went. I did get the bye. And Ray and Chance fought each other. Now I'm telling you the story. This is what just an example of you can't make this up. Like how did, if you were there and you missed this, like what were you doing? Right. Chance Turner is not known to be like afraid of any challenge. Right.
No.
And you got to love that about that guy.
Right.
I've told him that. Right. Chance Turner is freakishly athletic. Right. He is really freaking strong. He's really fast. He's extremely agile. He's way more athletic than I am, right? So he has this really weird cadence when he bounces that always kind of looks like he's about to spin or he's about to blitz, or it's like, wow, you're bouncing so high, but it's like, oh, do I go? Because he can be off balance in the air, and then as you go, like he could just flip that into like a jump spin kick, right? So you have to kind of respect it to a certain degree. So he's got this weird bounce, and then all of a sudden he just boom, he blitzes Ray, he catches him, and then proceeds to push Ray into those little metal barriers, pushes down, like Ray goes through the metal barrier and out onto the ground. What the heck did you do that for? Right? Now you pissed the guy off, right?
Right.
So Ray is like, no, that's cool. No problem to me. No problem here. I'm like, that was the worst thing. I would have rather him been mad. Right? So Ray blitzes, pow, pow, and then kind of gets a chance to where he's kind of like down on his knee, and then just 2 pieces him while he's on the ground, right? And he's like, no, come on, you want to go? You want to fight dirty? Let's fight dirty. Essentially, it's kind of what he's saying. I can't remember word for word what they were saying.
Right.
Now I'm like, freaking great. Now I get to fight the end. I get to fight that. Thanks.
Right.
Thanks, Chance. Wonderful.
Yeah.
To the point where I'm like, do I try to calm Ray down? Do I calm him down?
Right.
To somebody else. All right. And then here's Hugh. Hugh, this is behind it, was like the perfect hype man. All right. He was like, yeah, nobody should touch you. I can't remember what he was saying, but it was essentially like that. And I'm like, damn it. Right. But no, we're good. That's the one thing I've respected about Ray. And he said that same thing about me, is like all the showboating and stuff that you could do on someone. He's never done that to me.
Right.
Right. And at one point, I said, you know what, I respected that you never tried to pull that up, because you probably could have a couple times, right? And he goes, you know what, you've always come at me. The best respect you can pay a fighter is just to fight him with everything you got,
Right.
because otherwise, you're showing them that they're not worth everything you got. And I'm like,
Right.
oh, that's a great point.
Right.
So, man, there's like, I think
There's
the
so
fighting
many.
part, so many fighting
There's
parts.
so many. Actually, I'm going to go back to the year before. I just remember like the team fighting energy in 2013 just being like
I remember it.
so
Yeah.
much
Dude,
fun and
was
so hype because,
we
you
were in that
had
corner
all the
ring, but it
stars
felt
up.
like it felt old school. Like it
Right.
was old school. People were on chairs.
But
Everyone
like
was around.
the mix of that JPM team was really cool because you had like, the Hungarians as a part of it, but you also had Mike Pombero right there too, right?
Mhm.
It was a cool mix of that old with new, mix.
Yeah, we
You
fought them
still,
that year too.
yeah, I think Cass was, with them as well. Justin, 2013, I think it was his first year, I believe.
Did I fight? I'm trying to remember.
Maybe he was 14, but it was just that energy, man, was crazy. But I think yeah, it was that was him. Yep. It was 2013. But that was just so much fun, like seeing
Yeah.
those guys go at it, you look at even that same year of like Trevor fighting Robbie, right? To get to the final, right?
Yeah.
Like just crazy things like that. When you see these two guys, completely different heights, but really going at it, hitting hard and just going right at. I mean, it was just fun, like the other thing that I miss, I think this is the biggest thing I miss right now about Diamond's fighting is that it used to be the senior grand winner would get in there within that, right? And that always added just a lot of fun fights, right? You just saw
Yep.
some things you didn't expect to see, with the 40 plus and the 30 plus winners being in there, right? I mean, let's talk about one. I mean, let's just say it. When Kodak, won the diamond ring as a senior, a 30 plus fighter, over Zolt, you have that, right?
Yeah,
You
and
have
I guess I'm okay
Anthony
with
Price
the
winning, as I think 38, 39, I think you said on the show when he won.
I'm okay with the format. We're just gonna keep it to 18 plus, and that's gonna be it. Like, but I agree with you. Like, I do miss that, right?
Yeah, that was
Because there were times we were like, okay, you won the 40 pluses and you're very competitive and you were able to beat the 30 plus guy, but you ain't gonna beat Zol Marati. like this is not gonna happen. This is not gonna go well for you. Sure. But then it could just be like we just said, the other way, right? Like,
dude, AP was more successful. Not well, yeah. I mean, he was just as successful when he was 35 and up. You know what I mean? And probably a lot of people, he was more dangerous and they were more worried about him at that point.
Well, because he still had all the same athleticism. That was
Yep.
that was the thing that was crazy about Anthony Price is he had all the same athleticism.
Correct.
He did all the and I mean all the same athleticism, right? Sometimes when guys reach like my age, I can stand, I can do every kick that I've ever done. I can't do all of them together anymore. No.
Yeah, I get that.
I can't cover the ground that I have. I can't spin the same that I did. Anthony Price did all that stuff the same, right? He did all that stuff the same. And when you get to like 32, 3, 4, 5, 6, you get that old man strength with you too, while on top of it, still being a freakish athlete, right?
Right.
He's 6'4"? I think he's 6'4". Look at that. He's 6'4" with more than 6'4" long legs and reach.
Right.
Right. And when he fought you, he fought you with that same kind of approach that I was saying Ray would fight with, but he did that and was like, if I hurt you, that's not my problem. It was your job to defend yourself. So if you got hurt, that's on you. And I actually feel like it kind of pissed him off. If he,
Yeah.
you know,
Brett, no. The divisions back then actually were 18 to 34 in the 90s and
Yeah.
35 and up, and you couldn't do, and then 45 and up, and you weren't allowed to do multiples. You were only allowed to do that. Now, and they would have senior grands for 35 up and for 45. But at certain events like Bluegrass and Diamonds, they would bring them together for an overall grand championship, like the Diamond Ring or like the gold watch, right? But
or the medallion.
thing is, you look at Diamonds, there were several senior fighters that won, but you look at Bluegrass, like it was like 6-7 years in a row that a senior competitor won the overall grand for that.
Yeah,
so
we talked about that one.
Yes, this was in NASCAR. Right now, though, currently, I think around the 2000s, they changed it to the 30 plus. And so now, yes, I mean, technically, I can do an 18 plus division, a 30 plus division, and a 40 plus division because of my age range, right? I believe, though, they are going to, from what I'm hearing some things, especially with the forms, is that you can't necessarily do like, I think this is something that they're trying to push. You can't do 18 plus creative, 30 plus creative, and 40 plus creative. If you're going to do a creative division, you got to pick one age. Now,
Why do you think that is?
I think because of a coordination issue, like trying to not, because sometimes they're in 3 different rings, you know.
Well, see, but that's fine. So then that person just doesn't check in. And then if they check in and then go to their other division, their name comes up, you call them and they're not there. That's the risk they took.
Right. Well, that's what the rule is right now. I
don't see what's wrong with that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, either way, it's fine. I've done it all, right? But I think most of those things, a lot of times, it's not really an issue. But I see where it can be.
Well, what do you think? You just said you've done it all. What do you think?
What I don't think is what I don't like about it is that. So say if I'm at 30, all right, I'm 40 now. That means I'm not allowed to do the 18 plus Korean. That means now the most money I can go after on my own is $300 instead of the 1,000. That's what I think is not correct, or right. You should be able to go for the biggest amount. It shouldn't be that, oh, well, sorry. Now, even though your expenses are just as much, just the same, but you can only go for $100 because you're, or people that are, you're 50, like, sorry. Right. So there's things like that. So right now, no, I mean, I think it works that I can do this or that. For the longest time, for a little bit, they would let me do 30 plus creative forms. But if I wanted to do like Korean, I couldn't do any 30 plus traditional forms. So that was a way that they did it for the next step up. But then for, let's see, what was it? When I was competing 2013, 2016, I was only allowed to do 18 plus. Because if I wanted to stay down for 18 plus Korean, I had to do all divisions 18 plus. That was kind of the way that it was, right? So you couldn't mix. Now they have it where you can mix it up, and I like it, Yeah,
Brett,
and
I like your comment, Brett, but I think 5 minutes is still too long.
Yeah, I think it's actually like a minute or so, 2 minutes right now.
Because everybody that they call, they're right there. I think 5 minutes is way too long, especially when they have a 3-minute time limit for the performance to begin with.
And we can currently fill, so we can compete. So like this weekend, I will do 18 plus Korean. I'll do 30 plus, a 30 plus division, and then I'll do 40 plus division. So I'll be really busy with all the grands and stuff. So
here's the thing, though. Are they gonna let someone do all those fighting divisions, though?
Well, there's only
big hypocrisy, right?
I think so. I mean, a couple years ago, that was the big weird thing, was like they didn't have an issue with us forms guys doing it, But then someone complained about someone being the 18 plus fighting grand and the 30 plus fighting grand. And we're like, well, Joey just won the forums one and he's on stage tonight for the other. So why are you throwing a fit on that? I think that was Brayon, right? So I think that it shouldn't be an issue. And then for me, it's like, well, then why'd you change the rule? Because my argument with, I think it was with Greg and even with Larry was, then why'd you change the rule to let us do both? So, well, yeah, you can do both. You just can't do both grands. Well, then what was the point? I wouldn't have done that division if I don't have a shot to win the money in it. So, and then they kind of said, okay, you're right. It doesn't make sense. Let's just let them do as much as they want. So that's what we're doing.
I was thinking about this conversation, Jeff, because I am going to be judging at some point at this tournament. So because I take this stuff seriously, I still wanted to refamiliarize myself with every piece of the rule. And I mean, I read everything. And I'm telling you, if you went by the letter of the law, there's a lot of things you could do different than what's out there right now. Right? There's a lot of things that we just assume, but nothing is written down like at all. Right? So there's some freedoms that I would have as a referee to say this is out. And if anybody knew how it's written and they read it specifically, they could get away with some stuff, right?
Like let's just go case in point of last year. You center in the team fighting division, right?
Okay.
And you know what? One of the fighters, let's just say Kevin, decides I'm not going to step up to the line to fight.
And he doesn't. Yeah,
and he doesn't have to. It's not in the rules that you have to. And use the center. Other people were yelling at you have to make him step on. No, I don't. It's not in the rules.
Yeah.
You know what? He can move back there as long as they're just not crossing the line. As long as he's behind the line. Doesn't mean on the line or whatever. It's as long as he's behind the line, right?
And that's a testament to Kevin being a student of the game, because Kevin was a student that I don't believe possibly he was coached to do that, to say, don't step on that. But you know how I really learned firsthand about that? Because I was a student in the game, just watching it. You remember the battles that Hamid Feruzzi and Ryan McGriff used to have?
Yeah.
And you kind of looked at it like Hamid's the better fighter, but Ryan is obviously the better kicker and has this weird kick that, like, yeah, he can beat you if you keep trying to challenge that leg. All right. But you're going to have to do something about it eventually, because he's going to be there. So Hamid always wanted to get as close as he could and wanted to jam his leg and wanted to get right on that. All right. So I noticed that. And because I also fighting Hamid all the time, Hamid would always try to do that to me. All right. I wish I had figured this out, but all of a sudden I look, and this is when Hamid's fighting for NK and Ryan McGriff is fighting for CJB or whatever team Conroy was coaching.
Right.
This one's going to tell you the Conroy coaching mind. I look, and Ryan is like one step inside the ring, basically. Like he's almost on the edge of the ring. And Hamid's still like on the toes on the line, looking to reach to check the leg. And I am like, that's when I realized, I'm like, oh shit. You're going to walk your face right into a round kick, because he's going to circle that thing, and what you're going to try to check is not going to be there because it's way too far away. And I'm like, oh, that's brilliant. And then I talked to coach about that later, and he says, yeah, the rule says you have to be behind the line. It does not say you have to be on the line.
Right.
Fast forward 10 years later, we're in that exact same moment. I'm like, how genius was that? Right.
Yeah.
It probably wasn't 10 years, like 6, whatever. But Kevin was a student of the game. Kevin paid attention to that. And that's how you pick up on little things like that, is when you're just around,
That's funny, Brett. He's not going to, now that he knows you read the rules, he's not going to ask you to step out.
It don't matter.
All right. So
I predict they're still going to ask me to step out.
All right. So I got a couple of things to ask and to talk about. First off, Phil, I know you guys have the TCT has their end of the year championship this weekend. Hate that it's on the same time as Diamonds, but hope you guys have a great event down there in Columbia. And there's going to be a lot of support down there with FSK and Strike Force and a lot of those guys out there. So keep up the great work. You guys are doing a great job down there. All right. If you had to say 3 competitors to watch out for this weekend at Diamonds, that maybe you feel like are going to have some big moments, or that, you hope, even if they're not coming out with the win, that they're going to be the talk of the tournament. Who are some of those competitors?
Well, it's kind of hard. I mean, I love this question. Absolutely love it. But it's kind of hard because to say like you're going to have to watch them, they're going to have moments, like they're going to have to go deep.
Yeah.
Right. The only way this is going to be someone that doesn't go deep is if they do something where it's like, who thinks of that? Like Kim Do jumping over a guy with a camera underneath them, something like that. Where you're like, who would have thought that? Or
what if Shaquan does, like, instead of a double back, he does a double full out, you know what I mean? Something crazy.
And like a triple flash at the end or something nutty, or,
he does a double back off the stage.
Maybe Avery knocks somebody out. And he's not that kind of guy, but like that could be crazy, I would have to think the answer to this, it would be easy to say Tyreek Saint, Bailey Murphy. It would be easy to say those. So, but I don't want to discredit those. Here's why. So often we give professional athletes that kind of thing. Like it was always like, who's your favorite basketball player? But don't say Michael Jordan. Who's your favorite basketball player? But don't say LeBron James because you get fatigue. Who's your favorite football player? But don't say Tom Brady. It was that, it's Adrian Peterson or it's LaDainian Tomlinson. Like, is it really you like LaDainian Tomlinson more than Peyton Manning or Tom Brady? Like, no, I don't. But come on, I want to have something different, right? So, I think either one of those two that I just mentioned, they're gonna you watch them not just because they're great and they're likely to win, but because they're likely to do something pretty exciting in the process.
Right. That's true.
Right?
True.
If I'm not here's the thing, if I'm not gonna name Tyreek, Bailey, Avery, or Cam, if I'm not gonna name one of those guys, right? Mason Bumba.
Yeah.
That might be someone to look. That might be someone to watch. And that might be like, who? Why you didn't mention this? That kid's a freaking athlete.
Yeah.
That kid's good.
He is
right?
a freak.
That kid's good. Right? That kid's damn good. And the other hard part is like we don't know everyone who's going to be there.
Yeah, it's true. And especially right now with all the issues with the hurricane, like Sam, a lot of these people that he mentioned from Florida, I don't know. Hopefully that they can get their, their flights rescheduled or something, because I think some of these, I think either Wednesday or Thursday, they're shutting down the airport. So it's kind of crazy right now what's going to happen. So,
yeah, I mean, the other person, some other people that I would say would be Sammy Smith. All right.
Well, yeah, she's going after, to break a record, so it's pretty cool to see her back to do that. And, talking to her at Rhode Island, she still loves this and she's ready to compete again and go after that,
how old is she?
Not very.
That's what isn't it crazy?
Yeah,
here's the problem. This is when you talk about winning fatigue. This is the problem when we see them when they're 12 winning at a high level and they're very good and they just keep getting better and better and better. Guess what we keep seeing them do? Win. Right?
But a lot of those people leave for a while, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think
that's hard.
there's two people who have stuck around for a long time, and not just saying because I'm one of those people, but like you always say, like, myself and Mike Welch and Andrew Cabin, we're like unicorns, like it doesn't happen very often, Chris Walker, to where we get better as we grow older. but I think that there's still some of that. And like, let's just think about this. How old is Reed Presley? He's not even 30 yet. And he still has a couple years before he goes up to the 30, and like he's not competing, and
he's done.
I know he can. So,
but how old was John Valera when he retired?
What, 21, 22? Yeah.
And I actually thought, like, this is crazy. Are we really?
This
is really happening?
Yeah, 23 right? Maybe. Yeah.
I think it was both good and bad that he retired when he did, because I not only say bad because selfishly, like, wouldn't we all have wanted to see him compete more? But
well, especially think of who was coming up that next year, right? In like 2000, that just would have been fun, right?
But the rules changed too in the division that he dominated. He dominated the Korean division, which the rules for that changed. So
right,
it probably was good.
Yeah, but what division do you think he would have transferred to? Musical or American?
He would have done no, because they got rid of American too.
Well, I mean,
it went straight to open.
Right.
He would have done. I think he would have done open.
Maybe
2000.
I think he would have transferred to musical, actually, in a lot of ways.
Well, by that time. Well,
because for the longest time,
who was winning musical at the time? Daniel Sterling. So maybe
99. No, in 2000, yeah.
In 2000, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
like, if in 2000, like, what would John Valera have done?
So
maybe it would have been
the musical. I believe was actually Arnold Shawn, I believe, and then that was
Arnold didn't really compete too much in 2000, did he?
No, I'm talking about, yes, he did, but no, 99. I'm talking about before that. So when John transitioned over, or when he retired, it was him winning the Korean. The musical was, I believe it was Arnold. And then the American was, David Douglas at times, or
David or Anthony.
Anthony just moved up to adult at that time, right? So, So that's what I'm saying. And so if those guys stayed, everything would have been different, right? So
I forget about that. If Anthony Atkins is there, open.
Also in 2000, you forget too, that was the first year they let everybody do everything. So he could have done multiples. So he didn't have to just pick one. So there's a lot of.
We're getting way too deep.
We're getting way into the weeds. But anyways, we're thinking of some different people, that could have some big moments. I think, look, of course, I think just look at the women's division overall in the fighting. I think it's going to be fun. It's definitely exciting. And there's always someone who's trying to upset some people, we've had some different overall grand championship winners lately. So
yeah, we can make some predictions too.
It's going to be cool. The other thing is, the juniors, to me, this is always a fun tournament to see who ends the year off on top, right?
Yeah.
The junior competitors, who is it that's going to finish? We've had this kind of back and forth rivalry with Alice and Avery all year long. That's going to be exciting to see. And pretty much one of those two most likely is going against, Pia for the overall. But who knows? Like, there's been some people who've been pushing her. Emerson has been pushing her. So it's exciting to see just what's going to happen there. And like where this puts them leading to next year. Who's going to move up to adults? Who's staying down to finish their last year as a junior? Like just things like that are going to be exciting to see. And Diamonds always builds to that. Are we going to see just, Judah Sagawa's best performance of the year? Is he going to be going out to put on that Diamonds performance? Who are we going to see, winning the 13 and unders? We have Amanda, we have Maddie, we have, the Molinas, Michael Molina, we have so many competitors that have been putting on shows, have been, consistent all year long. But I really believe, yes, it's been a long year, but everyone has had almost 8 weeks off since AmeriKick, So,
Okay.
that's right. WKF Worlds is in Italy, so we're not going to have Emerson or Matthew Grushia. So that changes some things. So, yeah, it's going to be very interesting.
I do hope that one time there's a world in which we know all the competitors, like not just like
Ahead of
if you're
time.
registered in the division, you can view your division. Like, no, everybody knows everyone is going to be there at least the week before. You know,
Yeah.
like right now, we could be saying, yeah, yada da da is in. We all know because this is it, right?
Yep.
Maybe one day we can get to that point. Hopefully soon. It shouldn't be that hard, but
All right. So one
I-
more time. Let's
ahead.
go back. Let's go to what's your take? And this is going to be a segment.
Can I ask you a question before we get to that? Because I know we're going to get to that, but this one came
I
up.
just want to say all this is sponsored by K Talk Nationals, November 24th.
This is a perfect one to be sponsored by K Talk. All right.
All right. Ask me the question. Do it.
What?
Do it. Yo,
We're talking
do it.
about Diamonds moments. Okay.
Yeah.
List your top 5 moments.
Oh, okay. So I was going to go.
Wow, you already had it on the ready.
Well, I was going to go in another way of like, who are Diamond's legacy competitors? Meaning like,
But see,
if I had
that
to
could be
think
it
of
too.
top 5 Diamonds performers, and it doesn't have to be like in my mind, right? It doesn't have to be
Sure.
who has the most records. You know what I mean? Because I don't think it always just means that, right? It's really hard, okay, to say my top 5 Diamonds ones, but some of
Dude,
them are
big
probably
time.
gonna go the ones that always hit me are some of the ones when I was like a kid watching, right?
Yeah.
So like I always put, I can't put an order, but I always put like
It's going to be hard for me to do order
John
as well. I don't
Valera's-
think I can.
John Valera's first diamond ring winning performance in 96.
96 when he did
Yeah.
that remix to the Cranberries.
Yeah,
kinda
and just
dope.
that was one of my favorite forms and favorite songs he ever did, and that was probably his best performance of the year. And that win propelled him to be the most dominant person for the next
100%.
years, right? At that
I
time,
think I still know that form he did by heart. Like I've watched it that many times.
right. And I had my students do that for the Grand Slam Open one year as a tribute.
It's not
to him.
that complex.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. No,
It's not that complex. But
trying
it just,
to get them to do it. So this is what we did. We
Yeah.
had the screens and we had
Yeah.
him doing the form, and I had to like cut moves out because he goes so freaking fast. And we're like, all right, I know
What
he
moves did
goes
you cut out?
Just go chop punch. All right.
Oh, like you didn't do the 4 count.
Right, because like for some of my kids that are like blue belts, red belts,
They could never.
that's-
Yeah.
it's so fast. They're like, how did he get there that fast? Right. So that was just one of my favorites.
Yeah.
And of course him being, my coach, for him to finally get that. Cause I thought, the year before Carmichael's performance was so awesome, but so was his that year before too. So I thought it was just really cool.
That's hard for me to pick. Carmichael's 94 or Carmichael's 95.
Yeah. I mean,
That's hard.
Yeah. It's
Because
really
his 94 is his 94 when he dressed up as the Crow is probably the one that's remembered and talked about most often. But his 95 was clearly better. Right.
As far as for me, I guess it's not really one particular moment, but for me, it's a stretch of 5 years where it was Jason, Trevor going back and forth between who won the diamond for that 5-year period.
Uh-huh.
Jason Tankston Borelli, or Trevor Nash won the diamond ring those
From
5 years.
2002 to 2006, it was one of them.
Right. And
How
so 2002,
crazy is that?
2004, they were in the final 2 each time.
Yeah,
against
it was
the 3-year
those
term
two
goal.
every single time.
Yep. So it was just wild, right? To me, like that's a moment because of also just how close I am to both of those competitors, and being right there in that ring. I think the worst thing though was that year 2004 where they did the finals for the diamond ring, not even on stage.
In the eliminations.
Yeah, and just presented the ring. It was like, dude, you guys really ruined the point of like winning the diamond that year, because that was the first year they did the super fights, right? And they could have still done that final, But to me, that's a moment, that area. I would say Nikki winning her last, her final diamond ring.
Nikki Carlson Lee.
Yeah, would be one of those.
She beat Dottie that year, right? For the ring?
I think so. Yeah. I
Yeah.
believe
Which
so.
is like she was the next best fighter in the world.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So it wasn't like
there-
she like fought like a cheeseburger. Like, no, you
no,
you
no,
fought
no.
the next best fighter in the world.
Correct. So to me, that was a really cool moment. You gotta, for me, talking about, I know I keep saying for me, but Jody and Pedro in '98, the end of
Fantastic point.
end of an era, beginning of another era. The year before, Pedro won the diamond over Anthony Price. In a lot of ways, end of an era into the next one. Where the next year, Pedro's like, okay, I'm done now, and and for Jody to win that was really cool. So, there's so many other ones. I don't know, man. I mean, for me, I go back. I mean, I could say there's a lot of performances, honestly, that I just think are amazing. I'd probably have to put Calvin's, performance up there. So
his 2011 double sword blindfolded.
Yeah. So that was definitely one of those. And there's so many others that, you could say, you could do. There's so many moments. So you got any to share?
Of course I do. All right. So mine are some different ones. They're not always the end result winning ones.
Right.
So because some of my favorite moments are some of the ones that you mentioned, I'm going to not mention those because I have enough ones that I can choose from.
Right.
So here's one. This is a moment. This is just like what I was saying earlier, like how the heck were you not there? Okay. Right. Apparently you giving me a thumbs up on that one, Jeff. All right. So you didn't see that? You didn't see that?
So I don't know what happened. I don't know how I did that.
Yeah, you didn't even have your hands up, but it's all right. It's good. So All Stars and JPM are fighting for the team fight final, not on a stage,
right,
off in the corner of the ring. Didn't matter. Still 2,000 people there watching, right? And we are in the final match, and it is Raymond Daniels versus Damon Gilbert. This is 2007.
Oh, yep.
Yeah. This is, but see, like, this is one of those things where it's like, this is the moment. So teams tied, going to overtime. All right. And Damon Gilbert it's kind of hard to say, like, you're a good matchup for Raymond Daniels because it's not really fair to say. Like, I guess he just doesn't have as easier a time with a matchup like you than he would with somebody else. Maybe that's a better way to say it. But anyway, so Ray's forced to move a little bit more than he otherwise would have to, right? And then, they have two clashes and then nothing. And then Damon sits for like 1 second. He just sat and he raced too fast for that. Ray took off and it's super crazy fast, just took off the line. Pow, pow. He does a double back fist. He goes, pow, pow, right? And it stands there. I mean, it is clear. We didn't just see it. We heard it. Whop, whop, right on Damon. And Damon didn't give two shots, right? And just rear hand, just bam, 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 as late as it can get. And Damon does sometimes say, like, I don't hit late. They said stop. They said stop too. We're like, no, all of that was late, right? But Ray can't raise no punk. So now Ray's swinging back with both hands. Damon's swinging back with both hands in the center of the ring.
Right.
I am like, this is awesome. This is awesome, right? We got to see this. That was so cool. So that's one. Okay. I think Jason Borelli's 2005 tournament is really impressive, right? The only thing Jason Borelli did not win that year was team fighting. Okay.
Right.
I believe he would have won team fighting had he had and he was fighting with a school team. I still believe he would have won, right? DeJuan Brown was not there with him that year. Okay. So we fought him. This is in our team was, gosh, who did we have? It was like me, Jamie Cravens, and Jeff Seidner. So it wasn't BJ, it wasn't Greg, or it wasn't Hamid. I was obviously anchoring, and I'm fighting Jason, and I'm probably feeling the best of any other time I've ever fought Jason, which when I fight him, it's either going to be close or he's going to blow me out of the water. That's typically the way it goes. Thanks, Jason. All right. Hang on, I'm going to plug this in. I think I'm going to die.
Come on, man.
Give me a sec.
Killing us.
Okay, I'm better now. My bad.
So we're talking about Jason's 2005.
And he wins the diamond ring, all right? He wins the super fight championship, and he wins it in like double overtime too, right? Over Greg Betlock, who had just took him to like a 9-minute overtime like 3 weeks prior, right? And so it's really hard. Like, dude, you just literally had the best tournament of all. But I think in 2011 there were so many amazing things that happened. You already talked about Kalman Choka's performance. I think Ross Levine's fighting performance that weekend.
Yeah.
He had no slouches. His first round matchup in his division was Raymond freaking Daniels.
Yeah.
And he won.
Yeah, that was insane.
And he goes right. And you were like, and I remember looking at that going, this is really happening. We're all going to watch this. This is the first round of the whole tournament. This is what's happening.
Right.
Holy crap. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he wins and then proceeds to go on, fights Jason Borelli in the final, right? And was just masterful in the way that he went about that. Like he was just like, he had an answer for everything. Right. Yeah. And some people just have not just like their tournaments, right? But they have like their moments that like they can't be beaten, you know? Yeah. I really like Anthony Atkins. I really like him. Yeah. And he should have had a couple of wins. But there was moments, man. I thought in 2000 he's going to win. He was going to win the ring. I really did, right?
Yeah, John Sue won.
Did John Sue win?
No, you're right. I
thought it was Anthony DeMarco.
Yeah, you might be right. Yep.
And it was like I'm watching Anthony compete, and I'm like, "This is it. Like you're really gonna win this thing." Yeah. Like he always had like 3 more tricks than like everybody else. And like you don't need to. You could literally just be done. Just stop right now and bow. You don't even need to go to like a chumbi position. Just bow, right? And he did something where he went to the split, and he's at the end of it, and I'm like, no, don't do it. And he kips. This guy could fly through the air, and his bobble was on a kip up.
Yep.
How crazy is that, right? To think about that. All right. Ming Lu's performances.
Which 95?
I think 97 was probably a better one, but I think 95 was probably the one where we were all like,
crap.
What is this? You know?
Right.
I think that's probably it. You mentioned Jody Tension in 1998, just tearing through. I think if people watched that video of him fighting, they would not recognize who that was.
True.
Completely different fighting style. Completely different. There's one that no one will remember. Right, because it wasn't in the finals, wasn't for a championship. I think it was like for just first place in the division. Watching Tomas Imre and Avery Plowden fight, and this video exists. This video should be watched. You guys should look at this. Yeah. And it's impressive and frustrating at the same time to watch these two as fast and as hard as they hit. All right. And both of them are both just slam each other with body punches. Both left side fighters. So you're like,
Yeah.
nobody. So you go to punch, you're wide open at the same time. Right. And they just slammed each other over and over. I mean, it was probably 8 in a row. And the frustrating part was Tomas got every single one of those points. That was the frustrating part. I'm like, come on, man. These are clear clashes.
Yeah.
We should be winning as spectators.
So, Alex, I got 2 other ones I want to share that were during the day. And I think one was the 2009. I think it was team fighting. It was 2009. It was Willie Hicks and Ryan McGriff. Do you remember this? The drop where he dropped Ryan?
Yes.
And that was intense. That was where, a little bit of a rivalry started to happen there. And the next year they did a set fight in Vegas at Sin City Rubble off of that exchange, right? So that was crazy. And then for me, it was 2003. I kind of already mentioned Trevor, but during the day in the division, he beats Raymond in the division. All right. And you could just tell he had just gotten on JPM. All right. He just left CJB and he was on JPM. That was his first. Here's the other thing. They didn't even have him team fighting. Okay. So by 2003, by the end of that year, they didn't even have him team fighting with Paul Mitchell. So he was just there. And you could tell he was just kind of grumpy. He was kind of like pissed and he had something to prove. And he goes out and he beats Raymond like good. He beats him good. And he's so pumped up and everyone's around that ring. And when he wins that, his first thing he goes is 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. He did the
like
CJB chant. That's right. Yeah.
He didn't have a moment like that with JPM yet. So he hadn't, so that was just one of those moments I just remember like, wow, okay.
But Trevor's kind of had that a few times, right? Like another point, I'm watching Trevor at the Diamonds, right? BJ Carnahan used to be a problem, or it was just like, dude, you might just get knocked out, right? You could score, but could be a problem, right? So because he was a freakish athlete also. So he had this move, right, that he hit BJ with, right? And like I'm gonna say it and it's not gonna make sense, but this is what he did. All right. He fakes like he's gonna do a spin kick. Like he brings his back foot up kind of and he starts to roll his front shoulder and he flips it into instead, he doesn't do that. He goes back and does like a skip front round kick. Mm-hmm. So BJ has to like assess like what the hell's going on, and then just gets a round kick right to the face. Turns back like he's gonna high five somebody, and there is nobody behind him, nobody back there. And I felt so bad because honestly, I'm on the other side of it. I'm not BJ, and I'm looking, and now Trevor, that was it. That was the winning point, right? Has to go back and he's going like he's gonna high five somebody and there's nobody there. I'm like, what a shitty moment,
Well,
so he's kind of always had that with the team. Like, does the team got you or not?
Right. I mean, because honestly, more of us, I think, on CJB were right there behind him. But again, he was going against his teammate during that match. You know what I mean? So
no, he wasn't.
No, in 2003, the one I'm talking about.
Oh, the one, yeah.
It was him and Raymond, so it was like, But yeah, so lots of great memories, and I think this weekend we're gonna see a lot of new ones. There's a lot of divisions to really watch out for.
Got a question.
It's gonna be
another question. Somebody was chatting with me, and they were like, because I think there was a post like, hey, someone was telling me about this. I'm like, Sammy might, break the record, and if she gets these, she'll have as many, she might have as many as Caitlin Deschelle. Is she really as good as Caitlin Deschelle? And in my head, I'm like, I mean, yeah. That makes sense. Like if she breaks Caitlin's record, like, okay, I think we'll look at that and like, sounds good. Okay. And then someone else was like, yeah, if Kevin or Bailey, if they get a ring, they'll tie Raymond Daniels with the amount of rings. And I'm like, yeah, okay. Like,
Close. I don't think
I think what's he's got 5, right? Does he have 5? Right?
Raymond has 5. So I think if I think
They
it
would
would be
have.
4 for each of them. But
That's what I
if
thought.
Kevin wins both, then that would be
Let's just say now. Let's say no, that would be crazy,
Yeah.
right? But and then they were like, the person I'm talking about, they were like, yeah, but that's not fair because they're not worth the same. And I'm like, well, what are you talking about? And they're like, Ray won them
overall. Yeah.
when it was nobody else left to beat. Like no other guy won any rings. Nobody won any rings. Nobody won any championships. When he won them, it was him and him alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
This guy's got a point, you
Yep.
know? So ever
But you
since the
can't
lightweight
take
ring,
it from
heavyweight
those
ring. Yeah, but
Right.
that's the thing. At the same
That's
time,
not their
do you
fault.
say, let's say it's Bailey Murphy. Are you gonna
Right.
go, yeah, but you're not really. I'm like, it's Bailey freaking Murphy. Come on now.
Right.
Right?
Right.
This reminds me of like the 2018 Irish Open when so many people couldn't make it there, right?
Right.
And
It's not their fault. Yeah.
not their fault. Ross Cook had the tournament of his freaking life. Like I was right there being like, I've never seen this person before. And he's just destroying people, right? Just gave Tali Krishner like everything. Just made Tali Krishner look like a gold belt, right? Right. He just tore everybody apart. Takes Roman Brundle to double overtime. Okay. Roman wins. Now nobody discounts Roman for winning
No.
because it's Roman freaking Brundle, right? If Ross would have won, though,
Right. People would have said,
100%, they would have been like, yeah, it's because everybody wasn't there. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
but you beat Roman freaking Brundle, right?
But then
Yeah.
but then at the same time, like you beat
Oh, I
Roman
know.
freaking Brundle, right? But then
Yeah,
you
no,
only
I
beat
hope-
him, but then you didn't beat da 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 da. It's like
I
get
just
that.
think, I think all that, you know what? As long as you do your job, you go out there and you win, you know what? That's all that matters.
But
you know,
how you win does matter. That's how we can look at this and we can
Right.
go, well, all right, Regina Thompson, she's got a ring.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't who, let's say Dottie White. No, you're not as good as Regina Thompson. Regina Thompson would beat you if you in your prime, Dottie, Regina and hers, Regina whoops you. This is the way that's how that goes down, right? What, did I just say something crazy?
It depends on the era, but yeah, I mean, it just depends at the time, but yeah.
But look at that, right? So
I've
that
seen
what
both
I what,
beat each other is what I'm saying. I've seen both of them beat each other. So
come on now, you know.
yeah, I've seen it with my own eyes. So
Do you disagree with what I just said?
in that situation with that fighter, yeah. I mean,
You
there's certain
do
people, I
not.
don't want to name names too much of certain ones that have diamonds that didn't really win that many other things. But at the same time, like, hey, I won the diamond this
Oh,
weekend.
I'll be the one to say it. Let's say this. Okay, let's
That's just
say
the way it is.
because there's some people that are like as talented as it gets, don't have any rings. You
Right?
know,
Yeah.
Jack
I
Felton,
know.
no
Yeah.
rings.
Right.
Kodak Ray got a ring.
Right. Hey, you
That's
got to be
different.
on point. That's just the way it is, man. So, you know what? Like for me, there's a reason why this tournament's important. There's a reason why, like, it's just there's just something about it. I think, you know what? You go out there and you put on a show. You go out there and you make those moments. And you know what? We'll see what happens. I know it's going to be a big weekend. You know, for me, I'm just in my zone right now as far as you know, because I'm competing, I'm training,
man.
I got my mindset right. This is, you know, this is my year, so that's just the way it is. So,
My man.
all
Let's do
right.
the what's your take.
Yeah, and then we got to get going, man.
I know.
All right, sponsored by K Talk. We got what's your take?
All right. What's your
What we
take? Well, set the stage. So yesterday, I'm out. I'm cleaning the window wells because I don't have window well covers. Like they kind of broke. They were really cheesy, you know. And I just never bought new window well covers. So I know I'm always gonna have to grab leaves and take them out of there. Yada da da. Okay. And a lot of trees out here. So here I am grabbing them out of there. Told Lindsay I was gonna do that. Now I'm doing that. So figure I'll just go to town, get them all out. Yada da da. So I go to my last window well. Okay. And sure enough, that's where all the leaves are. I mean, this thing's full. So I just get the rake and I'm like, let me just stir this thing up, get them all loose, and then I can just get in there and start grabbing. So I take the rake and I'm like, boom, going to town. And I feel like I pinched my hand on something. And I'm like, oh man, what was that? And I'm going like, did I pinch it on myself? And I look down and there's a wasp on my hand, right? Like, oh, that's clearly what it was. So I shake my hand and then shit. This really freaking hurts, right?
Yeah.
So then I kind of look up. I look up and they are all around me, right? So I was stirring up a hive, right? So Zachary, my 5-year-old son, is like, here, daddy, let me come help. And I'm like, no, run the other direction very fast. Fast forward, my hand has swollen up like a balloon. I don't know if you guys are listening, if you guys can see, but this thing, I can't make a fist. Look at how fat I look like Norbert, right? Or like, what is it? The Nutty Professor. Remember, like everything was just swollen. I had to take my watch off. I couldn't wear a watch, like my wrist, even like everything. Like, this thing doesn't stop. Like I'm trying to think.
I don't know how all this stuff happens to you, man. I just don't get it. But okay,
that's true. I gotta believe some of the insiders
like, I don't know.
believe that like I literally live in the forest, but I don't. I live in Elgin. Elgin's an older town than Chicago, even, right? So,
all right, what's the take?
My hand is swollen up like this. This is clearly really bad. If this had happened to my wife or either of my kids or any of my kids, immediately we're going to the ER if I see what I'm happening now.
Yeah.
I feel I am not going to do a damn thing. What's your take?
Yeah. No,
what's your take? If this happens to you, and now your hand swells up like a friggin' like when you take one of those little like balloons, those little like rubber gloves, and you blow it up. You know when kids do that, they take like the rubber gloves and they blow it up. That's what my hand looks and feels like. If that happens to you, what's your take?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you. I would just be like, nope, I'm not going. The only way that I would be if I just got, I got tired of hearing it from my special someone, right? From Shelly, like with you, and just like, all right, fine, we'll go. If you're going to keep it, but for me, I would be the same way. I would just figure a way just to suck it up. Because I don't like going. Because again, here's the deal. Why do I want to go to the ER and sit in there for 2 to 3 hours for something that, by that time, maybe, so yeah, no, I'm the same way. I don't like going there. I've only gone to the ER for when I've had turned out to be migraines, but have been things that at one point people thought I was having a stroke, right? So I had things like that just because when I get a migraine, I have stroke-like symptoms. So like my whole left side of my brain and my body gets numb and I start slurring my words. Yeah, it's really bad. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds crazy.
Yeah, but
no, look at Brett's like, no, just ice it. Dude, I'm not even gonna ice it.
He's not even gonna ice it.
I'm not even gonna do it. No, I'm not even gonna ice it. No way. I mean, if I'm gonna at this point, who the frick cares? You know what I was gonna do
too, Alex? Like for me, when I have those, I don't want to go to the hospital because I know it's just a migraine. Just take me home and I'll just sleep it off. But again, when it's like that, yeah, it could be, but there's still similar things to something bad, so we can't risk it, right? But I'd rather just go home and go to bed. All right, did you got another one?
Well, that was the take.
Oh, I know, and I agree with the take. I agree.
But now there was a way. Now, see, this was clearly a wasp because the thing was friggin' massive. But if I did not see this with my own eyes, I would have never believed that this is actually something you could do. So the stingers, I don't think the stinger's in me. I think that when a wasp sting, I don't know. Don't come here for real, you know, factual advice. Don't listen for this. All right. But I think when a wasp stings you, they can sting you a number of times. I think.
Right.
But a bee, I think when they sting you, that's it. Now their life is over. Right.
Yeah. I
So,
heard that.
but I remember this when I was a kid. The guy rings my doorbell. I open up the door and he's like, Charlie, and I'm like, I don't know this guy. Right. And now you got this guy just jumping up and down, shaking his hands like, God damn it. And I'm like, who the heck are you? And this is, kid you not, this is the first thing I was wanting. He goes, got any mud? I'm like, what? Who are you? And he goes, oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm one of your dad's buddies, but I just got stung by a bee. You got any mud? And I'm like, there's dirt out in the back. And he goes, oh, you got a hose? He says, yeah. Let's go. And I kid you not. So he takes this and he takes hose, sprays it on dirt, creates a little mud, puts the mud on his hand, and just sits there for like 2, 3, 4 minutes, something like that.
Yeah.
And then he opens his hand. And I literally watched the stinger just come right out. It was white. And it just came right out of his hand. I'm like, what the heck is that? And he's like, yeah, when you put mud on it, it draws the stinger out.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what?
Yeah. All right.
Well, that is not, I do not have that as an option. I just have pain. I don't even know. I couldn't even tell you exactly where he stung me. I mean, this thing sucks.
All right.
Bad.
So what's the over under that's going to look like that still Thursday and Friday, or Friday when we see you?
All right. Friday. You think it's going to look better or worse? Like, do you think the swelling is going to go down, or do you think it's going to
go down? Yeah, I think it's going to go down, but I don't know how much down.
I think it's going to bruise. I think you're going to see like purple and blue and yellow. That's what I think. I think it's going to get. I think it's going to get better before it gets. I think it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Yeah.
And I think when it gets worse, like my skin's only going to be able to go so far, right?
Right.
And it's already starting to look nasty right by the thumb, right? I think it's going to
have one of the worst bruises in Diamond's history without. No, we know what the worst one in Diamond's history is.
Well, but tell me, what is that? I don't know what you're talking about.
2004. The kid whose eye.
Oh, remember? No, that was not a bruise. What are you talking about?
I know, but after that's going to be the worst bruise ever. That dude's face swelled up crazy, like, bro.
We're talking about the guy that Hamid Feruzzi hook kicked in the first super fights, and he broke his orbital bone.
Yeah, and it just started drooping down. Yeah,
and prior to that fight, we were fearing for Hamid's safety because the guy he was fighting was like a known knockout artist, and Hamid was maybe 141 pounds.
My dad says bee stings don't bruise. He said you'll be all right, man.
But this is not a bee, though. This is a wasp, and it's not even so much about the sting. It's like, how big can my hand get before it starts? That's what I'm thinking. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. We will see.
Papa Doss, that's a good point.
All right, guys.
So it's got a nice ring to it.
Yeah, that's what most people call him, Papa Doss.
Really?
I
had no idea.
That's what we always called him, and then my mom was Mama Doss, he was Papa Doss. But my niece and nephew call him Gramps.
Ryan's asking when we're going to get to the Diamonds. I'm probably going to get there Thursday afternoon. What about you?
I will be there by, I arrive 1:45 p.m.
on Thursday.
Yep, Thursday. So yeah. Geez. Okay. There's a lot of different people that say put some ammonia there. By this weekend, that wasp is going to be 5 pounds and 5 inches long. Wow. Okay. Wow. Well, easy there.
That's funny. But I'm the DDB. I'm gonna try that ammonia.
Yeah.
Okay. I am absolutely gonna try that. But no, Thursday I'm gonna be out. You know what? I don't really get to go, hang and do things in Minnesota very, very often. So since we're going to be in Minneapolis, I'm going to go out, man. I'm going.
Yeah,
You
like
can't
did
come.
last year.
It's going to work out different than last year. But you're not allowed to come with me on Thursday night, because if you come with me on Thursday night, you're not going to have a good Friday.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't do that. Like I'll be there after I'm done teaching and eating and everything, and I will sit and watch you guys and talk, and then you guys leave, and I'll go to bed.
Oh yeah.
So,
Anybody who's looking for a
like
good
that,
time Thursday night and you don't have to compete Friday, come on with me. I'll show you a good time. All right. We're going to have ourselves a good time. But if you're competing, you don't want to come hang with us. You don't want no parts of this party. I still don't know.
Oh man, I know too
So,
much.
we'll figure it
So
out.
many great stories.
Yep.
All right, guys. We will see you this weekend. Thank you so much to our sponsors, K-Talk, and we will see several of them this weekend at the Diamonds. Come shout out, come hang out, see us. There's going to be us two from the main gang there. I think there's going to be a couple others. Oh, Brett's going to be there as well. I think there's another one that hasn't been announced. I'm not going to share that, that he's coming, but hopefully one of our trusty leaders will be there. But yeah, so we're going to have a great weekend, have a great time. And man, let's get ready for some sport karate history, man.
Hell yeah. This has been another episode of Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. I'm Alex Dingman.
I'm Jeff Doss. See you next week.